earlier editions of this ebook, I was translating into Spanish, and I had to dig real deep to find some of these schematics because I had no way of knowing where they were distributed on my hard drive. And I came across this one to remind me something. Sure, you can reduce the frequency of the input sine wave generator to as low as you like. In this example, I had it feeding the circuit at 100 cycles per second at 1 microvolt, but unfortunately the spark gap won't fire. And then you get an out-of-control surge that wants to explode to infinite gain. So that's the value of having higher frequencies, which technically the range I work within is considered moderate frequency because high frequency is actually more in the giga and megahertz range. If I'm down in the tens of thousands, that's considered moderate frequency, while 100 hertz is considered low frequency. So you don't want low frequency, even though you could test out the thing, you know, with a low frequency to see if the whole thing explodes, and then you don't need the spark gap because it's not going to fire anyway. And so essentially, you don't. Oh, and here we've got a short going around this way. In the latest circuit, I take out this shorted wire because I don't need it, I found. But in any case, oh, and this was a mistake here. Oh, oh my God, that's right. Oh my God. This is why I took this out of the ebook, because I forgot to connect this wire here. You know, I may be wrong. Of course it would surge without the spark gap firing. Sorry, forget everything I just said. Um, you must make sure all your wires are connected. Whoopsie. I forgot about that. That's right, that's why I took this out. So you could theoretically, okay, forget everything I said. Oh, that was a waste of time. Okay, so the point of this video actually was to indicate that I made an error in the prior episode in assuming that the circuit could be a radio broadcast station. Where's the, I don't have it here. Oh, these two are the same. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Let's go back. Where did I go to get this? Here. The rotor, see, will act as an aerial to broadcast, but the ground connection will not, because I had forgotten that I did measurements on the input, and the input is 3 volts peak to peak, and the amperage is nanoamps, so how can it possibly broadcast through the ground? It can't. It's no way it's going to happen. It's just not going to happen through the ground. So, sorry to disappoint you, but yeah, sometimes my brainstorming, I forget. You know, I did so many, you know, of these simulated experiments, I've forgotten all of them. But if you do broadcast, it'll be through the air and it'll be from the rotor, because that's uniting the high current of the starter coils with the high voltage of the motor coils, bifilar coils, into the rotor. And so these magnetic plates are going to broadcast an electromagnetic field as well. So this whole magnetic armature is going to broadcast, as well as the rotor itself, because this is the transferring mechanism between the rotor and the main motor coil and the starter coils. So you've got a large body here magnetically transmitting electromagnetic waves at the very least, if not electrostatic as well. Although because of the high voltage, we have to consider the possibility that electrostatic propagation is happening as well as electromagnetic. So it's basically an aerial problem. So I suppose if you buried this in the earth, like Jumanji, you know, the Robin Williams movie, Jumanji, if you bury this in the earth several feet underground, then I guess the FCC won't bother you. um, and then we can call this broadcasting through the earth. See, I knew there was I knew there was broadcasting through the earth somewhere involved, but we don't want it broadcasting through the air. So there are a lot of different ways of preventing getting the FCC involved. We can blow air across this with compressed air, excuse me, and hopefully the air will ionize as it passes across this, and then the ions will ground out the minute they hit up against any object that's connected to the earth, such as the wall of a building, for instance. And so, but in any case, ions are not going to create radio interference. It's the electromagnetic radiation and the electrostatic field that will create, well, I should say, qualify that. The electromagnetic short range radiation and the electrostatic field, which is not short range, between the two of them, they will create radio interference in your environment, which the FCC will find out about. So you either want to convert this into ionization of the air, or ionization of the earth, or broadcast through the earth. Let's see, what was the other methods? I think that was it. You could immerse this in oil. If this is going to be a solid state device, there you go, there's an insulator for you. Well, but see, you can't pass air across that. It's still going to broadcast. And yeah, there's no you cannot block electromagnetic waves. You can redirect them by putting this in, let's say, an iron cage and then grounding the cage, if you know what you're doing. And I don't know what I'm doing usually with those kinds of things. Right, but electrostatics you can shield with a Faraday cage. That's easy enough. I believe with an electrostatic grounding, if you do things correctly, it requires one ground, while with an electromagnetic, it requires two grounds. So I guess with electromagnetic, you're grounding both the electromagnetic and the electrostatic at the same time. See what I was saying before in a prior video, that the electromagnetic is the extension of the electrostatic? So even though Eric Dollard says they are complete denials of each other, in terms of the structuring process of manifesting mass, electromagnetics, gravity, it comes after, that's the three-dimensional that comes after the two-dimensional of the crossing of two dielectric lines of force in space, following after the one-dimensional singular, taken one at a time, dielectric line of force in space. So it kind of then presupposes the idea that electrostatics supersedes electromagnetics, in that it's the parent and the electromagnetic is the daughter. The consequence of the effect. It's the consequence of the cause being the dielectric. Anywho, trying to stay on track here. So what was the point of this video? Oh yes, grounding, right. So there's not a whole lot of power passing through the sine wave generator. And I made certain of that because originally I had the sine wave generator in line. And then I realized, no, wait a minute, Paul Falstad gives you two choices for a voltage input. Well, he gives you four choices, not only DC versus AC, and then all the others, triangular versus pulse. But he also says, well, do you want two poles or one? And he must presume the grounding out the other pole if it's a one-pole input, because you never see that in the schematic. You just see one pole inputting your voltage. But here in microcap, I have to include both poles. There's no presumptions allowed. So I have to include ground on the other side of the sine wave generator. And because the circuit has no return to ground, see, this is the point. This is where we get back to Joseph Newman again. So Joseph Newman has two main points. He has a main motor coil that's not grounded to anything. Well, the circuit itself is not grounded to anything. And the only thing that's grounded is the sine wave generator. So that's all you see going into the earth is what the sine wave generator is contributing to the circuit. It's also contributing to the earth ground or the common ground, whatever ground you're using, chassis of the of the transport vehicle that you are engaging. But the circuit itself does not return to ground at all. There is no return, and so it's able to build up voltage, which is what the Joseph Newman device was designed to do. And of course, the National Bureau of Standards ground it out by shorting it out to itself, and of course, blew the test. And they admit it on their website, how they go about doing it. If you read Newman's book and and you read what the National Bureau of Standards did, you can see pretty readily that they screwed him. And they boast that it's not our fault. Newman's device is not over unity. Oh, good grief. So, whatever. It's life. Life in the fast lane. Life in the big city. So we don't have to worry about the FCC. Insofar as, well, no. That's not the point of this video. The point of the video is this is not a Crystal Radio initiative from the front end. It's not any end. Well, at least it's not from the front end. No, it could be from the back end, because you may end up broadcasting and then you'll just put your AM radio nearby and you'll pick it up. You don't even need well, no, you won't be, no, so it's both ends are not included. So this is not the Crystal Radio, so this is to correct my mistake from the prior video. This is not a Crystal Radio initiative at either end, neither sending through the earth nor receiving through the earth, because it's going to be all through the air. Got it. And sending only, certainly not receiving. You're going to need an AM radio for receiving. Okay, because of these two other schematics. The amperage is 4 nanoamps, and the voltage of the sine wave generator is 3 volts peak to peak. So when compressed together, it looks like a band of a wash. Like somebody took a wide brush and just brushed color across. Well, at 60 milliseconds, and at a frequency, whatever it was, in the tens of thousands of cycles per second, of course it's going to look like a wash of color. All right, now I've said everything I need to say.